This is Annie Scogan, and I am one of the co-hosts of Head Over Heels Pageant Talk, and I want to thank you for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hi everybody, this is Baxter Colburn from Public House Media. From all of us here at PHM, we'd like to thank you for your support and wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This is Robert Gardner, host of Fantasy Wizards here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Fantasy Wizards, where we talk all about fantasy football. A new show comes out every Tuesday and Thursday night. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Fantasy Wizards. Thank you again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
We all have special connections to certain movies. Films from our childhoods that left us in awe. We can remember fondly the first time we saw these films that in ways great or small affected our lives. For some, it's the wizarding world of Harry Potter. For some, it's the first time they saw the dark Caped Crusader in Tim Burton's Batman 1989. These films challenged what we thought was possible with cinema. For me and a dozen of my friends from high school, ours is Star Wars. We have a tradition now to see each new Star Wars film every year, but my first experience with the most magical film franchise of all time was when I was about 6. It was a gloomy, dark, rainy day. My family was planning to go to the Milwaukee Public Museum. As my sister and mother got prepared for the excursion, I sat in the living room with my father, flipping through channels. My father settled on Spike TV. They were showing a film my 6-year-old mind couldn't yet comprehend. I saw a large, hairy beast playing some sort of holographic game with a golden robot. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was otherworldly and exciting. My youthful jaw was dropped on the floor for much of the runtime. I sat there in glee as my parents allowed me to finish Star Wars. I was barely interested in the museum when we got there that day because I was hooked. You wanna buy some death sticks? I think yes. I had to seek out more. By the time my 7th birthday rolled around, I was in the backyard rolling around with my stormtrooper costume and blue lightsaber dueling my sister Darth Hannah. Sadly, she usually won. Many of us have fond memories of the first time we saw the Star Destroyer attack the Rebel cruiser, Vader revealing that he's Luke's father. Spoiler, I guess, for a movie released 37 years ago. Or my favorite, Luke looking off to the binary sunset as John Williams' score plays. Gosh, I love Star Wars. As I have aged, my appreciation for Star Wars has only grown. What many don't realize is that the original 1977 flick was independently made. George Lucas had a vision, no support or belief from any colleagues, yet the film became a global phenomenon for its fresh take on age-old stories. This freshness is what draws me and many of my friends back every year to watch the old films, play trivia, special shout out to Jedi Master Aaron Jones, who's the only person to ever beat me at Star Wars trivia, I'm fine, it's fine, and watch the new movie. Though my annual Star Wars extravaganza is coming up, I had the opportunity to see Star Wars: The Last Jedi with my dad on opening night. Was my jaw cemented on the floor like when I was 6? Did the wonderment of a galaxy far, far away take me back to my youth? Did Star Wars take risks and chances to remain relevant and fresh? Is Jar Jar Binks the key to all of this? Of course. What trilogy have you been watching? My name is Sam Kirby, reporting for Public House Media, and welcome to the next installment of Cinema Stories with Sam Kirby, the show where we stay fresh and super hyped. Calm down. No. Talking movie and TV news and... okay, we're talking Star Wars today. This week we discuss the new Star Wars trilogy highlighted by the latest Rian Johnson film, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. We will not be getting into spoilers today. Wow, that's a pretty divisive response. Unfortunately, that's what this film has been receiving. This is the new Star Wars. Now, I want to give my thoughts on the first film in the new Star Wars trilogy before I get into the latest film, since I believe it's relevant to discuss. The Force Awakens was a special film to many. It reignited the cultural phenomenon that is Star Wars. People were beyond hyped to see this movie unite the new characters and the original legends. When me and my friends saw the film, we were beyond ecstatic. Episode 7 is a really solid Star Wars film. I consider it to be the 4th best in the series. I'll give my rankings later on. The highlights? Daisy Ridley as Rey is an intriguing character and a ball of sunshine in the film. Finn, played by John Boyega, has one of the most interesting arcs in the entire series, and you can tell the massive Star Wars fan Boyega is, eating up every minute on screen. Controversially, I believe through one film, Kylo Ren is the most fleshed out villain in the entire series. Harrison Ford does a magnificent job as the veteran Han Solo. The visuals are spectacular, the action sequences are epic and enthralling, the scene with the Millennium Falcon on Jakku, you know the one, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, the lightsaber battle was gritty and emotionally amped. It's a fast-paced flick, sometimes cutting off genuine emotion, but not too often that it damaged my overall view of the film. The movie isn't perfect. It very much pays respect to the original film, with not-so-subtle nods and overall story structure. This really turned off a lot of fans to this film. It's understandable. Many of the story beats from A New Hope are flat out lifted to this film, from vital information being stored in a droid to start the plot, a young hero on a desert planet finding an older mentor who preaches the word of the Force and dies in the middle of the third act, to just another huge Death Star. The similar elements bothered many fans, causing a division. These similarities didn't bother me as J.J. Abrams, the director, added enough fresh ideas and flair to make the film stand on its own. It felt like the original trilogy again, my favorite movie series of all time. Those are my thoughts on the film. I know people have varying opinions on this, and I would be delighted to discuss everyone's opinion on the subject. I honestly just love talking Star Wars. Does The Last Jedi copy and paste plot points from The Empire Strikes Back? Or does it bring a fresh spin to the enduring franchise? This is my review for Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now I think anyone, me, you, Jar Jar... No, never mind, not Jar Jar Binks, no. I think anyone besides Jar Jar can review a film by analyzing 5 key aspects of filmmaking: the plot, direction and cinematography, character, and performance. The Last Jedi follows the characters we were introduced to in The Force Awakens on separate adventures. In the film, Rey must confront Luke Skywalker in a desperate attempt to save the Resistance, learn from his teachings, and discover who she is in the universe. Meanwhile, Finn, Poe Dameron, and General Leia Organa must strategize as Kylo Ren, General Hux, and the First Order are on their tails. That was my simple synopsis without giving away any spoilers from the film. Now, what do I think of the story? I love a lot of the plot. That's not to say it doesn't have its weak moments. Everything with Rey, Kylo Ren, and Luke Skywalker is handled spectacularly. This storyline was obviously paid the most attention to, and it's easily the best aspect of the story. Poe and Leia's storyline is also very well done. The only storyline that didn't seem as the same caliber as the others was Finn's storyline. He is introduced to a new character named Rose. The two must go off and accomplish something to assist the Resistance. The motivation is clear, yet it feels like an attempt to give these characters something to do. It also has very hammy social commentary. Not to say that social commentary is bad, it just doesn't seem to contribute to the overall narrative as much as the other subplots. When story beats concerning Rey, Luke, Kylo, Poe, and Leia are so interesting, characters are bound to be sort of left behind. It wasn't terrible by any means, but it was obviously the weakest aspect of the film. During these scenes, it began to make the film feel more convoluted than it actually was. Much of it could have been cut from the final product. Overall, the story is a good one. Most of the story elements are strong, and when they intertwine, they contain some of Star Wars' greatest moments. Take away one of the subplots, The Last Jedi contains a refreshing, interesting story in the long-lasting saga. The Last Jedi story is a fresh and risky one, and that's thanks to director Rian Johnson. Johnson was dealt a rough hand to play with Star Wars. Of course, it was always going to be a financial success, yet there was a lot riding on the acclaimed director. Balancing studio mandates, fan expectations, continuing arcs from the previous films, deliver a film that feels like Star Wars, yet doesn't borrow too much from the previous films, while delivering a solid narrative and artistic choices. That's a lot for one man to do. Luckily, Rian Johnson succeeds with flying colors. Admittedly, somewhere in the second third of the film, the pacing drags. Much of that has to do with the weaker story elements we talked about earlier. Besides some pacing issues, he does an excellent job of balancing all the aspects of the film and elaborating on some pretty resonant themes. He took the characters, especially Luke Skywalker, in unexpected ways, and unfortunately that's dividing fans. I think where they take Luke was risky and brave. Johnson understands these characters, takes fan expectations, and flips them on their heads. Though it borrows certain beats from other films, it's nowhere near as much as The Force Awakens. This film feels like as much of a vision from a director that we're going to get from a Lucasfilm owned by Disney. This is one of the riskiest Star Wars films I've ever seen, questioning the mythos and building its own legacy. The cinematography was some of the best in this series. This is a film with memorable, beautiful shots. Some of the visual callbacks and images are not only breathtaking, but vital to certain characters and their histories. The direction is solid and the cinematography is some of the best in the entire saga. Now, the reason we come back to these films, besides epic space battles and laser swords, is the characters. For the most part, the characters are great. Rey's arc is subtler yet assured in the flick. She begins to come to grips with who she is and what her role is in this universe. She diverts directly from Luke's arc in Empire. As usual, Daisy Ridley is a delight in the role. She brings the charisma and physicality of a Jedi. Finn's arc is a good one, a bit less effective than the first film, but John Boyega is so likable in this role that it's easy to forgive it. Kylo Ren again subverts expectations in this film. Many were taken back and disappointed that Ren seemed to be a spoiled brat in the first film. I loved it. That was his character. He was a whiny wannabe. His progression and conflict in this film are enchanting to watch. Ren continues to cement his legacy as a strong foil for Rey, while Adam Driver delivers a memorable performance. Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron has an effective arc and his relationship with Leia is entertaining yet heartfelt. Carrie Fisher delivers a strong performance in her final bout as Princess Leia. Laura Dern's and Kelly Marie Tran's characters are good additions to the film, though they're not very memorable. Benicio del Toro's character is kind of all over the place, but he was likable in the movie and he's a great actor. Andy Serkis plays a good Snoke, and I can't praise Mark Hamill enough for his role in this film. Even Mark Hamill himself wasn't sure about the way they were taking Luke in this film, but it was bold and brave. This character has experienced so much tragedy, and I really like the way they characterize Luke here. Mark Hamill's performance is his best in the entire series. There are many goosebump-inducing moments. Luke is great in this film, the best he has ever been. John Williams delivers another strong score in the Star Wars film. The effects are great. I love porgs. The reason that Ewoks and Jar Jar Binks didn't work in the two films that they were in was because they played integral roles to the plot when they were just being used to sell toys. These are just being used to sell toys, but they're used sparsely and don't really contribute to the plot. In conclusion, The Last Jedi is not a perfect film. It struggles with some of its subplots and pacing. That being said, they take the characters, story, and mythos in unexpected ways. Rian Johnson delivers an epic, action-packed sequel with great cinematography highlighted by Mark Hamill's career best performance. I really love the way they play with the mythos and fans' expectations in this film. It's not afraid to be bold. I'd give Star Wars The Last Jedi 4.2 out of 5. Now after that long Star Wars discussion, let's talk today's cinema stories. The segment of the show where we discuss the latest news in the entertainment industry. These are today's cinema stories. I wonder what the first story is. Oh, look at that, it's related to Star Wars, huzzah! Though Rian Johnson's take on Star Wars received positive to mixed reviews, that didn't deter fans from flooding the cinemas. According to Variety.com, Star Wars The Last Jedi blasted off with a $220 million opening weekend. This is the second biggest opening weekend in film history, just behind, you guessed it, Star Wars The Force Awakens. Word is out yet on how much the drop-off will be next weekend, but it's pretty safe to say that this little picture will make its money back. As of this moment, I have 2 more plans to venture to a galaxy far, far away. The deal is official. On December 14th, a deal had been struck between Disney and 20th Century Fox. Worth an estimate of $52.4 billion, Disney has taken on much of Fox's assets, most notably their film division, share in Hulu, and a plethora of other branches in their company. Disney is looking to incorporate Deadpool, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Borrowing any governmental interference, we will see the incorporation of Fox's properties in the not-so-distant future. Personally, I enjoy the varying interpretations on the Marvel heroes. Risky films such as Deadpool and Logan would have never been conceived if they have been released by Disney. That being said, I'm intrigued by the thought of an expanding MCU, even if it may be becoming a bit overcrowded. What do you think about the deal? Are you ecstatic at the thought of Wolverine battling Hulk, or are you concerned about Disney's ever-growing empire? The Golden Globes have announced their nominations for the best films of 2017. The Best Picture nominations include the following: Call Me By Your Name, The Shape of Water, The Post, Dunkirk, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, The Disaster Artist, Get Out, The Greatest Showman, I, Tonya, and Lady Bird. I've seen 4 of the 12 films, and I am so excited to see the rest and put together my list of the top 10 films of 2017. Well, it's time for me to walk off into the binary sunset. I want to go ahead and thank everyone today who tuned in. Thanks for the constant love and support I've received since starting the show. Please, feel free to message me and let me know how I am doing. Constructive criticism is always welcome so I can give you the best show possible. Being that Star Wars is about family, I want to go ahead and thank my dad today. I have so many great memories going to Star Wars movies, dueling with lightsabers, yes, he always won as well, and building Star Wars Legos. Going to The Last Jedi with my dad on opening night was such a fun experience for me. I couldn't do anything without my parents' love and support. Thanks so much. If you like the show, please download and share. You can follow me at Samuel_J_Kirby on Twitter or SamKirby17 on Instagram. Thanks to Public House Media for letting me host and do what I love. Make sure you like them on Facebook and check out their other great content. A special thanks to Podington Bear and Audio Binger for the music choices here today. If I had to rank the Star Wars films from least to greatest, I'd probably go The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Rogue One, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, A New Hope, and The Empire Strikes Back. I really enjoyed The Last Jedi. Though it has flaws, it took me back to the 6-year-old boy lying on a blue rug being whisked away to a galaxy far, far away for the first time. I'm guessing that the majority of Star Wars fans will judge this film based on why they like Star Wars. Some die-hard fans will be turned off to this movie as it features many diversions of usual Star Wars tropes. I love this film because of the risks it takes. George Lucas took huge risks in 1977 to make the original. That's Star Wars. The originality, the freshness, the risks, the mythos, the otherworldliness, the love and passion. That's Star Wars. May the Force be with you all.